Yeah. So that I would say lifestyle is the biggest driver, value, because it's not really value sort of anymore. It's not a cheap place to be. Obviously, with the influx, prices and things like that have changed, but the biggest driver is lifestyle for sure.
Welcome to CREPN Radio for influential commercial real estate professionals who work with investors, buyers, and sellers of commercial real estate coast to coast. Whether you're an investor, broker, lender, property manager, attorney, or accountant, we're here to learn from the experts.
Welcome to Commercial Real Estate Pro Network's CREPN Radio. Thanks for joining us. My name is J. Darren Gross. This is the podcast focused on commercial real estate investment and risk management strategies. Weekly, we have conversations with commercial real estate investors and professionals who provide their experience and insight to help you grow your real estate portfolio. Today's interview is sponsored by Building Insurance and Risk. When you invest in real estate, it pays to work with a real estate investor protection specialist to protect yourself and your investment from catastrophic loss. The experts at Building Insurance and Risk focus on real estate investor protection. They provide you with multiple insurance coverage offers and a side-by-side coverage comparison. To learn more, go to buildinginsurancerisk.com. Today, my guest is Simon Isaacs. In 2015, Simon moved his family from London to West Palm Beach, Florida, where he became more involved in the local real estate market after seeing an opportunity. And in just a minute, we're going to speak with Simon Isaacs about the real estate market trends. But first, a quick reminder, if you like our show, CREPN Radio, there are a couple things you can do to help us out. You can like, share, and subscribe. And as always, we encourage you to leave a comment. We love to hear from our listeners. Also, if you want to see how handsome our guests are, be sure to check out our YouTube channel. You can find us on YouTube at Commercial Real Estate Pro Network. And while you're there, please subscribe. With that, I want to welcome my guest, Simon Isaacs. Welcome to CREPN Radio.
Thank you for having me.
Well, I'm looking forward to our conversation. But before we get started, if you could take just a minute and share with the listeners a little bit about your background.
Yeah, no problem at all. So good morning, everyone. I moved to Florida in 2015, as mentioned. I left school very young, 16 years old, went into the city of London, started trading currency, US equities, and then in my mid-20s went into the scrap business. We built that business, scrap yards, recycling, and when we exited that business, I decided to move to Florida, where my wife is from, and started to get into real estate. In 2015, I started to buy investments, and I saw I'm not going to say a gap in the brokerage business, but let's just say I was very good with people and opened up a brokerage. And in 2017, and as they say, the rest is history. Post COVID, from there, it's been a wild ride.
Got it. So, did I understand right that in London you did not do any real estate? That was something purely U.S.
Real estate in London was more opportunistic, investment from another business. So I had was in a specific day job, and then I bought real estate on the side. So I had an understanding of it. I moved homes a number of times. I bought commercial real estate, managed tenants, etc. But it was never my main business.
Got it. So when you made and now you are full-time real estate, correct?
Full-time in the real estate business.
Okay. So what is it that appealed to you in the real estate?
People. I like dealing with people. It doesn't matter whether it's real estate, whether I'm selling real estate or scrap metal. I like dealing with people. I have an understanding of what people want and then need. You don't know what they need until you spend time with them, but I have an understanding of what people want, what they're looking for. And through COVID, I moved here in 2015 from a new country. So I knew what it took to move to a new place, whether it was a new country or a new state, and what was involved, and how to make people feel comfortable, because I had to work it out on my own. But I understood what people needed when they moved here in a rush.
Got it. And so when you first got involved in real estate here in the States, were you acting as a broker, or how were you Were you just
So
investing directly, or how were you set?
basically investing directly, buying in the sort of the area I live, Lake Worth, West Palm Beach, buying apartments, managing them, renting them out. But I had a brokerage. A partner of mine owned a brokerage, so I hung my license there for a couple of years, but a couple of years flew by very quickly. And then I opened up my own brokerage, realizing that I didn't want to manage properties, um, and I wanted to be in the brokerage business. So that's what I do.
Got it. So your brokerage, do you focus on residential, commercial? How are you set up?
The majority of the brokerage has been set up for residential. Over the last 3-ish years, having bought some commercial properties myself, clients of mine then realize that they also want to be in the commercial business. So I bought those before knowing that they wanted anything, but I don't compete with my clients. I don't develop houses. I don't put money into deals. I solely operate on the brokerage side of things. Um, but it's mostly residential and a 20% component commercial. And that
Got it.
helps me in the residential business because the commercial I do is in West Palm, in an area I live and sell a lot of my houses. So while I'm selling these homes, I can also comment and advise what's happening in the commercial business.
Got it. No, definitely boots on the ground. That's good. Uh, and what asset classes are you in as far as the commercial real estate goes?
Purely retail.
Yeah.
Retail mostly in West Palm on Dixie Highway. Um, it's, we've had a lot of businesses move here. Rents have moved in the right direction, but there's a lot of buildings that needed renovation, repositioning. And so I found clients that are willing and capable of doing that repositioning and uh, rebranding. And it's changed. It's not changed in area, but it's definitely made a difference for sure.
Got it. When you say clients, are you then are you finding the opportunity and then selling to a client, or are you invested in any of these commercial assets?
Finding the opportunity and selling it to my client. Yeah.
Got
As
it.
soon as I get involved on one side, everybody will, any deal I bring to a client, they'll all want me involved. And if I don't get involved, the deal probably, then they consider the deal not good enough. So I stay purely, I go out, I find the deal, find the buyer, and then I will help manage it and find the tenants.
Got it. Got it.
Yeah.
And from the retail asset class, can you describe kind of the size and the type? I mean, retail is it big box or is it strip mall or is it standalone? What are you finding?
It is not big box, no. On Dixie Highway in West Palm Beach, in the sort of West Palm, main downtown West Palm area, it's uh, it's small businesses. It's Pilates studios, it's coffee shops, gyms, uh, things like that. It is not big box. Those tend to stick to like the main roads like Okeechobee Boulevard, Forest Hill, and I don't really get involved in that commercial. It's very uh, it's hyper focused on a small area because that's where I sell the residential. So if I can bring coffee shops, gyms, studios, things like that, that helps me in the residential side.
Yeah,
So yeah,
no
no big
more
box.
amenities or amenities for the residential buyers. That makes a lot of sense.
Exactly.
Is the area? I'm not familiar with the area. Is it a walkable area or is it primarily a car required community?
I'd say, if I was to answer that one way or the other, I'd say it's car. Not a lot of people walk in Florida, mostly because of the weather. Um,
Right.
but it has become more walkable. Okay, so in the area where I live, going back 10 years, we had one restaurant to walk to, which was a 5, 6 minute walk. We now have four restaurants to walk to and soon to be a coffee shop. So there's a lot more, and some people still like to walk, obviously not in the height of the summer, but Florida is still primarily a driving place.
Yeah. No, I understand that. Um, so you landed in 15. It's 2025 now. Describe some of the trends that you've seen, and what is it you've seen that's occurred in the last 10 years?
Well, I've been coming to West Palm and Palm Beach for about 20 years now. I would say the biggest trend is the amount of young people. When I got married in 2010, I'd argue if I was moving then, my friends would have thought I was retiring or I was, something was wrong because there were no young people in this area. There were no restaurants from New York or from other states. And it was primarily a place where people come to retire or just vacation for 2, 3 weeks a year. So the biggest trend is the age of the people moving to Florida. It's probably dropped around 20 to 25 years, which is significant.
No, that's,
So
that's definitely significant. Are you seeing a lot of families when you say young? Is it you know young like right out of college young, or is it younger than the typical Floridian?
I'd say in the beginning it was families through COVID. It was a lot of families coming from New York, DC, and those areas, and that was COVID. Now we've started to see a lot younger. You've got a lot of businesses opening up here, not just, the focus is all on the big banks, etc. But you've got companies now from Silicon Valley. So there is a younger, I would say sort of 23, 24 to 30. They don't have families, um, maybe married, maybe not, but that's a lot more of what we're seeing now. The families have slowed down a little bit. Schools not easy to get into, and the places they were coming from are not as bad as they were. But the young people are coming.
Got it. And as far as the attraction, the growth, can you identify any single um, element or a point where that draws people to Florida and specifically the area you're in?
Lifestyle. I mean, I left work yesterday. I took my daughter from her school in Palm Beach to back home in West Palm, and then we had to go back for a science evening. Um, and I was driving along the ocean at 5:15 back to her school, and I actually said to her, "Isn't this an incredible place where we live? It's you have. I play tennis at 6:30 in the morning. A lot of my friends play golf. It's just a lifestyle thing where, notoriously this was a place where people didn't come and work, but all my friends, I also do some commercial in the building I'm in Palm Beach. I lease out executive offices, and we have about 15 executive offices of friends of mine that run an insurance company, uh, jet leasing business, a fund. All my friends work, but they just you work with a different mentality when you get up at 6:30 in the morning and the sun's rising over the ocean. You sort of feel
Yeah.
good about going to work. So lifestyle.
Yeah, no, sunshine is definitely an attraction. I get it.
Yeah.
Especially living here in the Northwest. I mean, we're coming out of some pretty dark months, probably similar
And
to what
I'm
you
from
had.
London, so
Yeah.
it's no one knows it better than I do. So,
Yeah, I
it's
say,
yeah. So that I would say lifestyle is the biggest driver, value, because it's not really value sort of anymore. It's not a cheap place to be. Obviously, with the influx, prices and things like that have changed, but the biggest driver is lifestyle for sure.
got it. And is the kind of the population age trends younger? Uh, how do you see that changing the surroundings? Is it changing? I mean, there's always the joke about the was it the blue plate special or whatever. I mean, the early bird kind of dinners and all that kind of stuff. Is it becoming more of um, a traditional uh, hour of operation, or is it how has it changed as far as the
I mean, there are definitely things that are opening later, but it's still, you know, it's still a place that you'll get your dinner service in some places at 6 o'clock, 6:30. You won't be able to get in, and then come 8:30, the restaurant will be empty
right,
in some
right,
cases. But there are some opportunities for the younger people for younger people, and it would be the younger people. Maybe I'm still young, but to go out late and have fun. But that is not really the demographic of here. If you want that, you're going down to Miami.
Right, right. So beyond the lifestyle, is there anything that affects the I guess the trend, any external I know, like you've mentioned COVID a few times, and I remember during COVID that Florida was one of the states that remained open, and obviously for lots of reasons with sunshine and lifestyle and remote work access, all those things added up to a very attractive place to be in Florida. Are you seeing? Is there anything else that externally that you see that potentially drives or makes, are there more jobs down there, or is it more people that can work remote, or what?
Yeah, there's a lot more jobs opening. We have a lot of office buildings being built with the anticipation, with leases signed and the anticipation of these companies moving. We had an announcement recently with ServiceNow coming from Silicon Valley, um, pretty pretty sizable company opening an office here. So I'm sure that's going to help. But it's not they're not moving 10,000 people, but we don't have the capacity for that. Maybe over time. So I would say that definitely Florida is a state that people, dare I say, feel a bit more relaxed in than other states. So, I think that there are a number of jobs that are going to be opening up here. The working remotely is, most people I know now are going to the offices. That's I'm not sure those days are over, but down here people are going to offices. Not a lot of people I know working from home. So I definitely think there's more opportunity than there has ever been to get a job down here and be able to work in Florida. And then there's the tax aspect, which is going to bring people as well.
Yeah, I was going to say the no state income tax. That's always an attractive reason to be a Floridian. Um, what as far as the drive and people moving? You mentioned like commercial space. Is it? I mean, is there a lot of capacity? Is it? Office space has not necessarily been one of the darlings post COVID as far as the asset classes go. Are you seeing offices full in your area?
We are definitely seeing them fuller, um, but there's a big push here by Related. They're building, I would argue, another could be, I don't know the exact numbers, but another maybe 500,000, 1 million square foot of office space. So they very much feel that this is going to be the the new South Wall Street hub, and uh, and they're preparing for it. They're preparing for it not just on the office front, but on the residential front as well. Um, but yeah, there's a lot of office space, and obviously with that brings more potential for it to go the other way. When you expand so quickly like we have. Um, but again, this is a small place, West Palm, which is where a lot of the development is happening. Um, and we're building the infrastructure, so I think it's going to be for the long haul.
And geographically, I'm fairly familiar with Florida, but I've not made it down to the Miami, West Palm Beach area. How is it? Is West Palm kind of like a suburb of Miami, or is it just a continuation of? I
No,
mean,
so Miami is all the way south. We're about 60 miles. Miami's 60 miles south of
oh,
West Palm.
60 miles. Okay, okay,
60 miles, yeah. So you have it goes at the bottom, let's call it on the south, is Miami, and then as you get further up, you get to Fort Lauderdale. The major places where there are airports, let's call it. You have Miami, Fort Lauderdale. You then have Boca Del Rey, and then you hit West Palm Beach.
got it. I appreciate
And we
you.
have an airport here as well, Palm Beach International Airport.
Okay, oh, got it. Um, from where are you finding that, or do you recognize people have migrated from? As far as is there a, a center point, or is it from all points?
I would say in the beginning, it was definitely the New York, DC, Chicago region area. And now lately, we've definitely started to see an influx of people coming from the West Coast. I'm actually out with some people on Friday. They're coming in from the West Coast, and we were getting West Coast before obviously the tragedy, and the fires. But now it's definitely, I feel like they think that this is a lot more like their lifestyle than anywhere else. They're not going to go from the West Coast and live in New York. They're going to go where the sun is, and they're also going to Texas as well. Austin and those places have seen an influx because it's closer. But I would say West Coast lately has definitely been the main driver.
Got it. And how is the migration? You mentioned earlier the cost. It's not exactly an inexpensive place to live, but how have you seen the uh, the cost? Is it has it increased with the demand or?
Yeah, it has increased with the demand. I mean, you have a number of restaurants that are opening, New York restaurants opening down here, which tells you, they think that this market is, as deep as their New York market. So the cost has gone up. The cost of everything's gone up here. Um, so it's definitely going to play a factor. But, I feel like at the moment it can sustain it. And, we'll have to see where it goes. But, restaurants are packed. On Monday night, I was out at a restaurant in a new building, One Flagler, and it was a Monday night, and there were no tables available in a very nice Greek restaurant. It was surprising.
No, that's always a good sign if the
Yeah.
restaurants are full.
Yep.
Especially post COVID, and everybody's kind of back to some sort of a sense of routine and wanting to socialize and get out and have a good time. That's good.
Agreed. Yeah.
See here. So let's see what else I got here for questions for you. Um, so let me ask you. I know as an insurance broker, the insurance cost in Florida are certainly they're newsworthy, but they've always been higher, just given the threat of hurricane and that. Have you seen insurance? Has it affected or created any challenges in closings or just the market in general?
I would say that in the market in general, yes, it's definitely been a factor. In closings of mine, I always make sure that when we're under contract during the inspection period, we have an idea of what we're in for, if it's insurable, if it's not insurable, and at what price before we come out of an inspection period and are committed to buying the house. So I always make sure we know what we're in for. But it's definitely gone up. A lot of these insurers are, especially I think it was last year with the tornadoes, started to pull out of Florida. And obviously we're coming into hurricane season, which is always every year, everyone is sort of holding their breath. But yeah, no, it's the insurance market is definitely a difficult market in Florida. And it will always be challenging. We have older homes here. Roofs, back when I bought my house in 2015, it was built in 2007. I thought I was going to, back then, maybe 30 years on the roof. As insurance has changed, I'm probably going to have to change my roof in the next 2, 3 years. So, and it was built in, as I said, in 2007. So I may not get 20 years out of it. I mean, I could leave it, but they may not insure me. So
Yeah.
those things are definitely going to be challenging for people.
Yeah, it's a source of frustration. I know how the insurance companies are dictating the terms as far as, and also the capital improvement expenses for everybody, not just in Florida, but it's definitely a challenge. What about are property taxes? Have they are they stable, or are they with the increase in demand for properties driving up the retail price for properties? Have you seen a spike in property taxes, or is it just part of the equation, or has there been anything unique?
Well, it is part of the equation, as all the real estate in Florida has gone up, real estate tax has gone with it. Appraisals uh, are up, and real estate tax is one of the biggest things, biggest challenges here. It's not just the insurance. When you go to buy, a 500,000 home all the way up to whatever, you know, real estate tax plays a part in it, and it's roughly in West Palm around 2% um, of the purchase price. Now, if you homestead your property, you can fix that in. But if you bought over the last 2 years, you're fixing it in at a pretty high price. You know, things don't tend to go down, but they can only go up 3% a year. So I would say property taxes is definitely played a big part of people's decision to purchase and the cost to carry a home. When I moved here in 2015, we had the SALT tax in, so you were able to offset your property tax against your income. And then obviously that was taken away, and there's been talk of bringing that back. If that came back, then we would obviously see another surge. People will be, maybe we'll buy a more expensive home and, you know, re-up our basis. But for the moment, people don't tend to want to move out of their homes they bought.
Got it. If you had to use your crystal ball and look forward here a year or two, do you see any trends emerging, or do you think things will continue as they've been here the last couple of years?
My crystal ball, I would say that West Palm, Florida in general is in a very healthy place. And I think that it, aside from anything catastrophic, you know, whether it's weather or anything like that, I think we will trend younger. And I think that the market for the moment is doing very well, but I think overall it will continue to go up. It won't go up at the pace it's gone over the last 3 or 4 years. I don't think that's sustainable, but there's definitely a demand, you know, and smarter people than I think that as well. So they're building for that, and so they're actually putting their money where their mouth is. So I just think we're going to trend younger.
Gotcha. We haven't once commented or even talked about interest rates in the time span we were, talking about from 2015 to 2025. There's certainly been a dramatic change in interest rates. As the time kind of goes on and people get accustomed to the rates being what they are, have you seen any hesitancy, or are most of your buyers cash buyers, or what, has there been any reluctance?
No, I wouldn't say that most of them are cash. Maybe they buy and then they refinance after. But you know, yes, of course, interest rates going from sort of the mid twos up to where they are now, which I had somebody do a deal the other day and they were in just the high fours. So they've started to come down again. But you know, being realistic, though, those were very low numbers. You know, the amount of conversations, oh, I should have done a 30-year, shouldn't have done a 10-year IO, and those types of things. Nobody knew. So while they seem high, you know, they may have just gone back to somewhat of a normal level. And yet people would like to see them. But if they come back down to four, you're going to see people buying houses thinking that that's normal, because I don't know that we're going to see rates in the twos again for a while.
Yeah,
But this definitely played a part of the cost to carry a home.
yeah, no, definitely. Got it. Hey, Isaac, if we could, I'd like to shift gears here for a second. By day, I'm an insurance broker, and as such, I work with my clients to assess risk and determine what to do with the risk. And there's three strategies we typically consider. We first look to see if there's a way we can avoid the risk, and if that's not an option, we look to see if there's a way we can minimize the risk. And if we're not able to avoid nor minimize, we look to see if we can transfer the risk. And that's what an insurance policy is. It's a risk transfer vehicle. And as such, I like to ask my guests if they can look at their own situation. It could be your clients, investors, the local municipality, could be the Fed, whatever it is that you identify and consider to be the biggest risk. And again, for clarification, while I am an insurance broker, I'm not necessarily looking for an insurance related answer. And so if you're willing, I'd like to ask you, Simon Isaacs, what is the biggest risk?
Wow. I would say the biggest risk here. Oh, it's a big question. It's a big question. Demand. Demand is the biggest risk here. Demand for uh, properties, demand. If you only need one event, one weather event, and everybody ends up leaving. So I would say demand and weather are the biggest risk in my book.
Yeah, clearly in Florida, you're one, one major weather event or something like that from, people souring on the place, or at least
And it doesn't even need to be a major weather event. It just has to be enough that people are concerned and they don't want to deal with it.
right. And let me ask you this: Do you feel that that's a local attitude, or do you think it's more of a public perception that gets promoted, news, etc., after an event?
Public perception. We end up, whether it's the tornadoes, the winds, etc., it stays on the news, which obviously we want to be alerted. You want the warnings and things like that. But the news definitely makes it drag out a little bit longer. But it's a serious event, and the tornadoes were an eye opener last year because everybody thinks it's hurricanes and flooding. But that's not the case. So it's that public perception is, is the
Yeah.
biggest.
Well, and what I've seen, if there's any place that understands how to recover from a, major storm, hurricane's got it, or not hurricane, Florida has it down to a science. I mean, they know that it's coming. They stage all the electrical repair people, and as soon as the storm's cleared, they move into action and get things going. And it's amazing to me just the sheer volume of ability to, put things back together. Now, obviously, when structures are wiped out and communities are lost, it's a whole different story. But just the size of the storm and even a lot of the building codes that have come to be based on Florida's experience with storms are fascinating.
I mean,
But
Miami knows that you're pretty guaranteed that Miami is going to flood in certain areas, but they know it and they bounce back very quickly. So
yeah,
it's communities up here that got hit last year by the tornadoes have also bounced back very quickly, but
yeah,
thank God it wasn't catastrophic.
right, right. That's good. Hey, Simon, where can listeners go if they'd like to learn more or connect with you?
So you can find me on my website, www.isaacsrealestate.com, and then also on Instagram, Simon Isaacs Real Estate. And I post. You've got all the information about me on my website, and what I'm doing on Instagram, houses, tours, or just some local information. We post a lot, so it's all out there.
Awesome. Well, Simon Isaacs, I can't say thanks enough for taking the time to talk. I've enjoyed talking with you.
My
Learned
pleasure.
a lot,
Thank you for
and
having me.
look forward to doing it again soon.
Look forward to it. Thank you.
All
Bye,
right.
everyone. Have a good morning.
For
Have
our,
a good day.
yeah, for our listeners, if you like this episode, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Remember, the more you know, the more you grow. That's all we've got this week. Until next time, thanks for listening to Commercial Real Estate Pro Network's CREPN Radio.
You're listening to CREPN Radio for influential commercial real estate professionals. For more information on this or any of our guests, like us on Facebook, CREPN Radio.